Heidi ho everyone, and welcome once again to a brand new week of trading, and it's Learn to Trade live and free. And this is me, Jeff, coming to you live and true from Tasmania in Australia, where it's a little bit nippy today, I've got to say, but that happens in the middle of winter here in Tasmania. I'm getting used to it. I've only lived here for now. This is my third winter, but yeah, I'm starting to get used to it. It's that little nip around the toes in the morning. I'm setting myself up here for the pound US dollar breakout trade. And those of you who know what that's all about need no explanation, but those of you who are in for the first time, welcome to you. I must say, hi, Swee. I'll give you a brief rundown of what we're doing here. We're trading the breakout of the 3 bars prior to London session on an hourly chart. They're all bull bars as well. 1, 2, 3. So these 3 bars here. And courtesy of the EA that I have here, we've got an entry price for the buy at this point in time at 1.2575. Of course, this candle is yet to close, and our stop loss for the buy will be 1.2507. So we place an order long above that high, and we'll place an order short below that low.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Hello, there's the big O. Orlando's joined us. You're
Yes.
going well, mate? How was your weekend?
Yeah. It was really fine. I mean, didn't do much. Pretty chill weekend for me. Just wanted to tell you, Jeff, that I don't think you're sharing your screen, mate.
Yeah, so Swee's telling me as well. And there's a reason for that. I haven't bothered to do so. Right, we'll fix it. Thanks, guys. All right, that should be far, far better. And I'm still can't see it there. Yeah, we got it. Cool.
Yes.
All right, so here's the parameters as we approach this milestone of 5 p.m. my time, which is 8 a.m. London time, 3 p.m. Singapore. What time is it where you are, Orlando?
1 a.m.
Oh my God, fathers!
But I'm already used to it, Jeff. I mean, I start my day at 2 a.m. So it's fine. I was just waking up like an hour ago, so I'm ready to roll.
You're ready to roll, rock and roll. Okay, well, I
Yeah.
mean, living in that part of the world, if you want to do London session, that's what you got to do, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what you got to do. If you really want it, that's what you got to do.
That's it, buddy. Righto, so these
Mhm.
parameters will remain the same. This candle is about to close. Well, it's got 1 minute to close. I can't imagine it's going to go higher than the high at the moment. Well, what we'll do is we'll place the short first up. And I was explaining to you guys, and I'll do that as I go along. We are doing what's called an OCO. So one cancels the other trade. I'm going to place the short order, and we'll also place a long order just so we catch the breakout if it happens. May not happen. What we've got is an entry price for the short of 1.2509. So 1.2509 is the sell price. Stop loss for the sell is 1.2575. And that is all we need to know for that. So that's placed. I'm a little bit premature, I've got to say, but in 2 seconds that will change. And the buy price, we'll have to take that back now to 1 to get our price, because I'll forget. Okay, so the buy price is, as it was, of course, at 1.2575. And the stop loss will be the same as the entry for the short, of course, at 1.2509. Okay, now, guys, this is in beta test mode. This is not a proven system or strategy in any way, shape, or form, so you need to act accordingly on that. It is not something that you should be throwing good money after until we prove it to be a safe way to go into the market. Now, we've been trialing this for not this particular method of managing the trade, but we've been doing this for the last 6 months, and we've accumulated a fair bit of data on this. And in the US session, starting the first week of August, which is when both Ash and I are back from holidays, we will go through and analyze all that. We will make all that analytic data available to you guys in this show as well. And from there, we hope to get a system that is giving us a nice return on our investments. But at this point in time, we are still in that beta test frame of mind. Now, those of you who haven't traded this before, just for the sake of knowing what we're doing, once we do get an entry, and here's the entry for the long, here's the entry for the short, we will then trail by 2 bars. So if we get triggered to the high side, if we get triggered into the buy, we will trail 2 buyer bars. So for instance, if this was the bar that triggered us into the trade, we would wait for this bar to close, then we would wait for 2 buyer bars to follow it and move our stop loss from where it was down here up underneath the 2 bars. Don't count the first or the entry bar as your first bar. That's your first bar. Now you wait until you've got 2 clear buyer bars before you trade your stop. So if that was a seller bar and you had to wait for 2 buyer bars like here and here, then your stop loss would move to there. And then you follow it up 2 buyer bars up under there, 2 buyer bars up under there, 2 buyer bars up under there. And my goodness gracious, you'd still be in that trade. You wouldn't be looking real good, but you'd still be in the trade, about halfway to stop loss. So that's the way it's managed at this point in time. As I say, we've been beta testing this for about 6 months. And the data will all be analysed live on the US session, which of course happens at half hour before US Open, Monday through Thursday. Now, if I was trading the pound today, other than this this breakout scenario, what I would seek to do is wait for in fact, that candle's not too dusty on an hourly chart, but what I'm seeking to do is trade it off the top of this range that we've been in for a while. If I go a little bit wider, you can see where I'm at with that. So we've bounced off the top of it. We've had a break or a false break to the short side, false break to the high side. There is a strong resistance level, which has been form of support here, resistance here. And we've put in a lower high since then, and we are back in the range. And I wish people would stop ringing me at this time of day. That'd be good. Anyway, that will continue on its little merry journey. From there, once we come back inside the range, I'm looking for lower highs. Probably got one there last week. Hang on, let's get rid of that EA. There we go. And go a bit tighter. So it looks like last Wednesday, that bar popped up. I didn't trade that because of where the proximity to support. And I wanted to wait until we bounced a little bit harder, maybe a little bit slower, actually. And since we've just got price action that's garbage, and it really is garbage, and it's very, very difficult to say what happens next, except to say, I suppose, that we're bound inside the monthly and weekly pivot. The daily pivot's now joined in that as well. So it's very, very tough to be thinking that we're going to go too far here in the near future. And I don't know what can change that from a fundamental point of view. But from a technical point of view, I'm still waiting for something to tell me that we are going to move outside this area. But the first thing I'd like to see is price get back up to here and fail again to take out these highs and give me a significant lower high here. And I think that's when I would decide to move. But we've got to get out of this range that we're in at the moment on the smaller time frames. And if you have a look at the 30-minute chart, as I am, then you're seeing exactly what I'm talking about. We are upping and downing and going in across the daily pivots basically at the moment. Interesting bar, that one. That is a lower high on a 30-minute chart. I don't know. I can't see anything that's trustworthy here, to be honest.
Me neither.
No, it's kind of messy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Really messy. But I do have a slight bearish bias, but I'm not convinced that I want to stay there forever. And if I go a little bit wider, you can see what sort of a mess that we are really in. But what I also glean is a big bullish engulfing bar off that that flash crash that we had back in March. And since then, we've got a higher high, a higher low, a higher high, a higher low, question mark. What happens next? If we are to get a higher low and follow that sequence, then we're going to have to move pretty fast on that. What can drive the pound higher? I really don't know. But the other side of that equation, of course, is the US dollar. And the US dollar is in all sorts at the moment. But I think, mate, you and I were talking about this last Thursday.
We were.
And we both had the idea that the US dollar may have a little bit of strength in it short term.
Yes.
I haven't had a look at the dollar index so far today, and I'm just not sure that that's still on the cards. You still have that opinion? Friday was a bad day.
Yes, actually I am. I mean, I saw the US dollar open higher, but well, it failed to make a new high. But I mean, we are still very much at an area of support that is very heavily to break. Above that zone, above the area, above the 95-90 zone, the possibility of a breakout.
We might as
to the
well look at that
upside
chart,
remains.
mightn't we?
Yeah, we might as well look at the chart. Let me just share my screen. Can you
Okay.
enable? Okay. Oh, there you go. You can do it. So that's
Got yours up there, mate. You've probably got far better handle on your
no, I
chart
mean,
than you do on
but
this
that's basically it, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that 95, 93 zone that you have marked there, I mean, that you have marked on the lows, I mean, we are still above the previous low in mid-June, right? So if price doesn't break below that low, the probability of us going higher on the short term, well, is higher to me. So once, I mean, if and once we break with that low, the probability of a short-term rally on the US dollar completely I mean, it completely deletes for me, you know?
Yeah, it's still there. I see it.
Yeah,
But it's struggling to do it, though,
lot
isn't
of
it?
pressure. That's right. There's a lot of pressure to on that support zone, in the sense that, yeah, I mean, it's being supported by buyers, but the selling pressure is super dense there. So for the time being, I see the USD non-directional, right? Until we break with the 97, with that 97 level that you have on your chart, or the previous low, to get a true direction on the short term on the USD. But yeah, it's going to be tough, like you said, Jeff.
Yeah, tough to call right now. But yeah, look, I'll go with it. I still see that level. That's about 97, nearly 98,
70.
where we didn't get to, and there's another one below it here as well. Maybe in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I'm looking at. Exactly. And
Wants to get a wriggle on though, mate. I reckon, you know, it's running out of time and price. Time and price, if they don't come together, though, I tend to say, well, maybe I'm not right here.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I wouldn't place a big bet on a bullish USD play right now at all.
No, look, at the end of the day, that's a short-term analysis from me. I'm dead set and absolutely bearish on it. But I see this chance for the rally, which means on the other side of the coin, I'm also seeing chances for things like the euro, things like the Aussie to come off the boil for a little bit. So that's primarily where I'm at. But I don't trade the first 30-minute candle London session. So if you're happy to let us know what you're looking at for the week, then
Oh yeah, sure, for sure, Jeff.
we'll
So
do
let me
that.
just, yeah, just let me. I'm gonna share my chart, and it's. I'm gonna start with Brent because the last time that we spoke, we talked about, or yeah, we discussed my position on Brent, right?
Yep.
Well, not my position, but my idea that Brent might go lower. Um, yeah. So can you
You should
okay.
have control now.
Yeah. I have it. So let me just
Cool.
go ahead and here and share. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah, mate.
Okay, cool. So like we discussed last week, just me lost the indicators, delete. All right. So I took that short, Jeff, you know, and I carried over the weekend. I placed my sell stops at the break of these lows, and I got filled, or right here. I don't know. It must have been over here because they're my stops. So I got filled on Friday, but and I carry on with that. I mean, I didn't close my trade, even though Friday closed very close to my entry right level. Because of this, let me show you my the chart where I actually draw my lines. Um, and later on, I'm going to talk about equities, okay? Because
Cool.
that's something that we discussed, that we also discussed last week. So this was my trade idea on Brent, right? So this 4-hour chart, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm not looking to at too many markets right now, Jeff. But
No,
the
nor
thing
am
is,
I.
yeah. But the thing is that this market in specific caught my eye because of this big level that was capping, you know, the upside on Brent. The last week's OPEC meeting was very non-eventful, and in the sense that it didn't move this market whatsoever. Well, they did discuss some concerns on rising COVID cases worldwide, etc., which is bearish for crude oil, right? But like I told you guys last week, I wasn't going to be trading inside of this triangle, the short side. So I waited for this breakout to the downside. Well, this breakout to the downside, and I held on to my trade over the weekend, right? Because because of, fundamentally speaking, the noise that was coming out of the OPEC was very bearish, and volume wise, let me show you guys volume wise too what I was looking at. I was looking at this volume wise. You know, a very capped range on the sessions volume on the last 4 or 5 sessions, but still very much to the downside and capped to the upside by previous points of control. So that, I mean, and this is WTI futures, not Brent futures, but you know that they move very similarly. So what I was noticing also is that under these points of control in the last 3 or 4 sessions, there were barely no volume, which was the point of control of the 4th session before it, right? So the volume was moving higher in levels, but still was being capped by a lot of sell orders, right? So buyers were not they were not able to break and to swipe all those sales orders to run price higher. So that's the reason I held on to my trade. And as you notice, I mean, it is crashing. Well, not crashing, but it's going. I mean, it's trading to the downside very fast. You know, these are 50-minute candles, and if you see this last candle, it's about 30 ticks in 50 minutes. That's more than the entire last 2 hours range, right? So yeah, I mean, it's trading with low volume to the downside, which means that it's going to take a lot of buyers to hold on to this to this trade, or to hold on to this price up. So that's my idea on crude. And yes, I am going to be taking half of my position at this previous big zone. So let me just get rid of this. At this previous zone. The main reason is because this is a big support zone and the weekly pivot or the monthly pivot. Let's have a look. This is the monthly pivot. So yes, this is going to be a very tough zone for sellers to break below, and we might get some a deep pullback if sellers are really determined to bring price down. But I'm definitely going to take most of my position here on a nice profit if we get there, of course, and move my stops to break even. So please do not chase this move, because I mean this market is moves really fast when it moves. That's my position on crude oil, well, on Brent, Jeff. And we are, this is the 2-hour chart. Let's have a look at the 1-hour chart so we get the cleaner moves. And let me just get rid of this pivot point. So this is the 1-hour chart. And this is the other thing that's very interesting to me, right? These red lines and these blue lines, green lines, I'm sorry, are the daily opens, right? When the line is green, the daily open, it means that price closed above the daily open. And when it's red, it means that it closed below the daily open, or it's currently trading below the daily open. And if you notice, there's going to be, if we continue to trade to the downside, 3 consecutive negative days in this market, thing that hasn't happened for a while now, because we were trading in some kind of a range. So that's significant for me, because the last time we got 3 days in a row, they were green. And now we're going to get 3 days in a row, but they're red. So that to me is significant. I don't know if you guys follow the daily open and daily closes, but to me, they are quite significant in my analysis. Should price reverse and close above the daily open, I would definitely be closing my position either on a small win or a small loss. Now, I also want to talk about yen futures, because I showed you last time that we spoke that yes, that I had a long on the pound yen. And this chart is very significant to me too. I need to, well, yeah, because of this, the yen has been trading inside of this big range. And if you look at the histogram, if you guys don't know what this is, this is the volume profile, right? What this indicator does, it plots the entire volume traded on this period of time onto this histogram, right? The bigger the histogram, the more volume has been traded in that specific level. The blue lines, or the blue histogram inside the big histogram, is sell pressure or sell volume, no, buy volume, I'm sorry. And the green, the yellow, sheesh. And the yellow is
take your glasses off, mate.
No, I haven't had my coffee yet. I'm not colorblind, I swear to God. And the yellow bars are a sell volume, right? And this white line that comes here is the point of control. The point of control is the level with the most volume traded inside all of this time period. So right now you can see that we are trading we are trading around that point of control. Usually the point of control acts as a magnet, and it's where big orders are going to be placed, right? And earlier today, when the opens, I'll show you this. We had a big sell-off on the yen. I was pretty happy because the pound yen and the US dollar versus the Japanese yen too started to rally, right? But I saw that we were also breaking with this structure, which starts to look more like a flag, right? Like a bearish flag. And but because, and we can also plot the daily open, right? But because we are still below the daily open, I can see this as not being just a fake out, right? We are retesting the previous daily open, which acts also as support, as you can see right here. Should we trade higher and break with this high, I would definitely be a little bit concerned to be taking a water on my GBP yen boat, but it's completely fine. The other thing, let's go back to the 4 hour, because the other thing is that point of control, right? We broke with that point of control, but like I told you, it is where big orders are going to be placed, right? And on the long term, I remain very bearish on the yen. I think everybody does, right? But we are still inside of this range, and until we break or with this low or this high, we're not going to get real move or real direction, right, on the yen. But I favor the downside. I mean, I favor the downside fundamentally. Technically speaking, that I cannot tell you if we're going to. I mean, I know that I don't. I'm never going to know where the market is going to go, but it's easier to. I mean, you can assess the probabilities of a market going high or going low based on technical analysis. That's what we do. But based on technical analysis and current price action, and this price action in particular, I couldn't tell you if the probabilities of going lower or higher are there. You know, so I'm going to keep my eye on the yen futures, you know, and decide what to do with my pound yen long. But should we break to the downside, like I told you, I would be looking at some kind of move pretty similar to the one that we just saw here, a break retest of that point of control for maybe a retest of these lows, okay? That's what I'm looking on the pound yen. And if we go to the US dollar Japanese yen, I mean, which is a market that I'm not
What a chart,
touching.
man.
Yeah, it's horrible, right?
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, this triangle is a non-directional triangle, and just look at how many bulls just got triggered on this spike high and break of this triangle, and now their trades are very much on the red, and very weak bulls have already been stopped out. Okay, that's the other reason that I chose the pound versus the yen for that particular scenario. Okay, so yeah, let's keep an eye on that yen futures chart. I mean, I always keep my eyes on the futures market because that's what really moves what we are trading, right?
Mate, couple of questions
Yes,
before
go
we go
ahead.
any further. Is the histogram on MT4? No, it's not, to my
No,
knowledge.
no,
You're
it's
on
not.
you mate? Yeah, trading view.
Yes, that's where I do all my analysis.
S&P 500. Do you have a look at that, don't you?
Yes, I was going to right now. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Okay. Any tips on gold versus the dollar? XAU.
Of course. Gold versus the US dollar. I was talking about that specific market just when the market opens. And there's a reason I have this 30-minute chart open, because I was discussing exactly the probability of gold going lower, right, on the short time period, just to pick up buyers to move higher, you know. And because I mean, we are trapped in a range, right? I'm not too keen on trading ranges, but when I see a good risk to reward scenario like this one, you know, um, to be completely honest with you, I took a short here. Yeah, and but the true setup will be a break of the lows, right? On this somewhat kind of a flag. But the thing is that I don't see big buyers jumping in at these levels, right? to move gold higher for another leg up. Let's go to our charts, and I mean, this chart really presents my thesis correctly, because I mean, if you notice, even with big moves to the upside like this one, here is a very bullish move to the upside. Another one, I mean, this move to the downside, here is where we picked up bulls and moved price higher. This is where we picked up bulls and moved price higher, right? I mean, no big bulls, in my opinion, are going to be buying gold right here with the knowledge that there's a lot of sellers at this level, right? I do believe that we need a little bit of a pullback before we can go higher. And my idea was, I mean, I was talking to a trader friend of mine, that that was the rationale behind my trade idea on the short term for gold, right? Do not take anything I say as an advice. This is for educational purposes only. But I don't see, I really don't see big gold buyers swiping these sell orders at these levels when price is so high. So if we go to the 4-hour chart, let's go back to the 4-hour chart. And I had this channel. Where is it? Hold on, wait. Here it is, right? So we are still very, I mean, structurally speaking, we are still very much bullish in a very structured market, right? These key levels are being broken and retested perfectly. I mean, these big buy zones are being respected very, very consistently. So so that's the idea that I have, you know, a retest of this buy zone, the structure, before we can move higher, because I do believe we were going to be moving higher. Should bulls manage to break this big level, I'll show you why this is a big level too. I have to go to the weekly, right? This is a big level. Okay, maybe not the weekly. So where are we trading at? Hold on. We are trading at around the 1810, right? So let's go back to the weekly, 1810. So this is this low and high right here on the candle, okay, on the weekly. Let's go back to the daily, and yep, hold on. I have to go back. This is the thing about gold, you know, that those levels that we are seeing right now, right here, you can see it right here, 104, that we are seeing right now, those levels are the highs that we saw on 2011, right? So you have to go back at in price action quite a bit to find key levels to the upside. But that but you have to do that in order to know what happened you know, in these levels on the past, because without this, I mean, how is it possible that you're going to be trading with no fresh levels to trade from, right? So we are trading about at these levels, and here is what I wanted to show you. Okay, so this is the kind of capped range that I was looking at. Okay, there was a big volume here. And the reason that I'm looking at this range is because here, I mean, if you look here on the daily, let me just thicken this chart out for you. Okay, if you look here on the daily, before we picked up buyers on this dip, here is where sellers were met, right? You can see the big bullish candle on the daily, big bearish candle on the daily. We picked up buyers again and we had a big bullish candle on the daily, and again an indecisive candle here. So yep, there were a lot of sellers at this level. And then we made this low and broke with it and retested it. And here is again where big buyers jumped into the market. So this range right here is very important to me. Now, if we go to this price action or current price action, this is exactly where sellers have been met again and again and again, okay? And this is the range that's capping us right now. This exact same range is capping us right now. So that, I mean, this range play on gold might not be might not be the clearest idea, but I do believe that if we, if we haven't managed to break with these highs, with such big bullish moves, it's going to be very hard to break it on such a weak bullish move. That's why I do believe that we need for at least to retest the lows at the 1795 level in order to pick up really big buyers, maybe during the London session or the New York session, to break with these highs. I also could be wrong, and big buyers could jump in and swipe all those sales orders, but that's my view on gold, and those are the levels that I'm working that I'm working off. And those levels are based on the daily. They're not based on the past few weeks worth of trading. They're based on historic price action dating from 2011. So this is what this is my view in gold.
All right, mate. A couple of other things in the questions box.
Yes.
Are you trading with Fusion on the futures?
Fusion, no. I trade here on IFS markets.
Right, cool. And S&P, we're going to have a look at that in a minute. But we've also got a question on silver. Whilst we're on precious metals, if you want to flick over to silver,
yes,
we spoke about
of course,
Thursday as well.
Yeah, sure. Let's go to the commodities tab. Silver, again, the same thing, guys. So remember, I am looking for the next opportunity, the next big opportunity in silver, right? And I do see this move very overextended in silver. And if we grab just a ruler, just to see, to see the calculated targets, here we have a 2.25 dollar move in silver. And from the breakout, let's have a look. Where's the ruler here? From the breakout, we've had a 1.70 dollar move in silver, right? So we're not quite yet to calculated targets on this flag breakout, but we have hit the 161.8 of the flag, which to me is a very significant level. Why? Because if you look at this chart, this is the daily chart. I'm not going to go lower because you can see everything that I'm going to be talking about just on this chart. I'm going to look at the first moves, right? This is the first wave, and we have a corrective triangle, an ABC corrective triangle with the bottom at the second wave. Then we have the third wave. Then we have another corrective move, an ABC corrective move. And then we had the fifth wave, right? Tackling those 161.8 targets, right here, 161.8 targets. So, and not only that, but we are at a very strong area of support. So we haven't quite gotten to that area, but levels are not straight lines, they're zones. So to me, I wouldn't be looking to buy silver at these highs. What I'm looking for is some kind of pullback to these previous highs, and for silver to form some kind of a reversal pattern that I can trade from with a good risk to reward scenario for the next big move to the upside in this metal. That's the other thing, Jeff, this analysis in silver was what also kind of supported my idea of a pullback in gold. But definitely, I will be looking at the 1838 to 1850 level for the next big buy in silver. And as you already know, going to the weekly, the upside in silver could be exponential. If you look at this is the 161.8 pullback of the last leg down in silver. So this, if we break with these highs, this is going to be my next target, and that's a big if, of course. But if we manage to break with these highs, this is going to be my next target in silver around 24, 20, yeah, around the 25 level. So that's why I call this pullback and this buy the next big buy in silver, because if I manage to get in, or I mean, I will be looking every day for an entry in silver regardless. So let's call it when I manage to get in, I will be looking to hold that trade until we get at least to these lows. Because I mean, let's call it like it is. This is such a heavy area that is going to take a lot of buyers to break through these lows. But if you notice, after this breakout, we haven't really tested that zone, and we broke out of this area of support in April 2013, and we haven't quite tested it yet, right? This was kind of a real test, but we didn't quite test these lows. So yeah, I mean, these are my views on silver in the long term, and in the short term, let's have a look at the 3-hour chart. All right, we'll be looking for something like this. Hold on, let me just grab this. Something like this again to present itself, you know. So if we manage, I mean, if history repeats itself, we could be looking at a very nice risk to reward trade around. I mean,
That's
I
a
don't
cool
know.
little tool you just grabbed. Where'd you get that from?
That's in trading view. It's called ghost fee bar patterns.
Ghost?
You know, just yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's very helpful when you're looking at cycles in the market. You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty helpful when you're looking at cycles in the market, and I use it just like I did right here to see the depth of a pullback. That's basically the only way. I'm sorry, the only reason I use that tool to see to look at depth of pullbacks. And but the thing is that, Jeff, here I forgot to talk about this. This would be the end of the fifth wave on a 5-wave move to the upside. So the pullback that we are going to have here might be a little deeper. It might be to the 1720, because I mean, if this is in fact a 5-wave move to the upside, and this is in fact the end of the fifth wave, we would be looking at an ABC move to the downside, which would mean that we could be entering a long here prematurely. Okay, all of this is just analysis. We don't know what's going to happen, but of course that if we pull back right here, well, I'm going to give you the 3 scenarios, okay? If this is in fact the end of the 5-wave impulse, and we start pulling back, and we pull back to this level, and we print a pullback, I'm sorry, a reversal, and break with that reversal, I will be trading the upside. If we pull back to this level and we break with this level, I will not be looking to short it, but I will be looking for the same scenario to play out here. Much better. I mean, if the pullback is deeper, it's much better for us bulls, right? But if this is not the end of the 5-wave impulse, and we break to the upside and retest these highs and print a reversal pattern, I will be trading the upside here. So in any case, in any of the 3 scenarios, I will be looking to trade the upside in silver.
All right, mate. I'm going to give your voice a little bit of a rest there and come to my 30-minute charts.
Yeah.
And we've got a whole lot of questions for you. If you can take these on board for when I come back to you, which will be in about minutes. Is CME an index of JPY? Don't answer. Just put that on notice.
Okay.
S&P, we've still got to have a look at. Do you still have your channel for swing trading, and how do the guys join? And have you got a view on platinum and natural gas as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Got all those? I'll repeat them for you, so don't think you have to commit them to memory.
Yeah, I mean, you just go ahead with your charts. Okay, exactly. Yep. And I'll pick up the answers, the questions later after you finish. All right.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Okay, views on the 30-minute charts at the moment. Look, Euro US dollar is very, very strong, as we know. We all know Euro's on fire, in particular against the US dollar. But I still see this level that we're trading at as a strong resistance level. So I can't possibly go long here. I totally see the euro back at this 116 mark at some stage, maybe even this week. It's so strong. And the reason I feel that is that we've come out of this long-term bearish channel and we've broken it once, twice only, or maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times since 2017. But this is serious. This has really given it a go now. And what tells me that is now going to break this level potentially is the mini pullback that we didn't have here. We just had a reversal during COVID-19, of course, the big first waves of COVID-19 and that extreme volatility that we saw. But now we're back here again, and the US dollar is so weak at the moment. And again, going back to my first statement, which was, and pardon me, Orlando's of the same opinion, that we should see a short-term dollar rally. That should turn this around. How far? God only knows. No, he probably hasn't got a clue either, but
that's a good one. I'm going to steal that. I love that.
I feel that we'll come back to this 113.60 mark at least, and maybe even to the monthly pivot. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to trade this counter trend, counter momentum, counter everything else, and I'll be looking for that to happen. At the moment, do I see it? Well, the 30-minute chart is telling me no, not yet. We're back to this level that we broke out of only, a couple of hours ago. So that'll be interesting today to see if we can come back into this mini range, if you like, and have another crack at the daily pivot. I don't see that as a trade at the moment, but it could well work out that this resistance area here and this resistance trade line that we're now testing the backside of, if we get back underneath that and retest that, then I will think about a massively counter trend and momentum trade down to the short side. How far? Won't be far, I can assure you, but probably 113.60 again is going to be the level that I choose, around about that mark there, if I can get into it. But it's not there yet. Cable, pardon me, looking very, very strong today. But again, you'll note that we have come off the bottom of the range. Didn't get a chance to get into it. So fast is this move down and up. This is today's price action, right? We've gone up, hit the weekly pivot, gone smash straight back down to the bottom of our range, smash straight back up to the top of our range. That's the kind of volatility that you're seeing in pound US dollar on a daily basis. It's crazy. Absolutely.
Yes, it is.
And hard to trade. So what would I do from here? Well, same as always. We're at the top of a range. I'll be looking for a lower high in here. And if I see that, then maybe we can find a trade to the downside. I'm actually not looking at too many pairs because they're very, very interesting at the beginning of the week. But I want to see something unfold at the moment. Pound Kiwi is one that I'm keeping a very, very close eye on. And the reason I'm keeping a very close eye on this is I see a massive reward available to us. We've been in this channel for the longest time, another couple of years again, and we've been unable to break it either to the high side or the downside. Again, we're at this crucial level. And if we do get a bounce here, this is very similar to what you were talking about with pound yen, Orlando. I've got a little area here that we have gone into a range on. And pardon me, I also see a bit of a head, a bit of a left shoulder. This is a complex head and shoulders, but it's kind of there. And I do like the fact that we've now put in this new low. This really gives me confidence that this can go high. And I know that sounds double Dutch, but that's exactly what you want to see. That's a clean out area where the potential buyers have picked up some liquidity here. With all the stops and all the sell orders, et cetera. So what would I like to see? I'd like to see the weekly pivot tested and then a higher low put in around about that mark. Is it available yet on the smaller time frames? No, but you can see where I'm coming from. if we do get a bounce off here, I'd love it to close above the weekly pivot, this bar here. Then we're going to pull back down to this area, this former support level, around about 190, 170 or thereabouts, and give us that higher low that we're seeking. That will be my trigger to go long. If we get a nice little, you can see that little trend line that I've got poking through here. If we got a retest of that, that would be pretty much my go signal to go long pound Kiwi. The other one, dollar CAD. Oh, sorry, I'll just go back to that pound Kiwi. The reason I'm so keen to get in here is that massive reward that is available. If we could get in here on, say, a 40 pip risk, you can see, let's say we got in about there somewhere with a 40 pip risk, or you could go really under the swing, even go 150, 160 pips. Your potential reward, if we get to the top here, is, you know, up into the 3,000s, almost 2.5 to 3,000. That makes that a very, very juicy prospect for me. Now, we're not going to stay in that trade for that long, right? But what we will do is we'll take profit along the way, scale back in, profit along the way, scale back in, etc., etc. So that's why I like this position so much. I'm not. It's not going to go there tomorrow, right? But maybe by the end of the year, we could find our way back up there. What, why, and how? No idea. And again, my old mate wouldn't have a clue either. But you can really go back in history, and when you follow these structures, who'd have thought, you know, when we were up here, pardon me, that at 208 or whatever, that we'd be down at 180 or whatever that was at that point in time. Nobody would have called that. But these things can happen, and they do happen. So that's precisely why I'm keen to get into that position. Dollar CAD is the other one. And the reason I'm so keen on dollar CAD at the moment, if I go to the weekly chart, is you can see that we've come back inside this range, and I'm looking at a rally, as we keep talking about, on the dollar. If we can get back to the top of that little range that I've got sitting in here, if I go to the daily chart, if we can get back up to here, then I'll be looking for shorts off that level, and I'll carry that right through. And again, the reward potential on this is quite strong. I think we can, if we can get down to here even, the reward potential is quite strong. But in extension, if we got down to, you know, the 122s, 123s, from 135s, 136s, then that's looking quite strong. And if you then use your imagination quite pronounced, you can see a double top sitting here. Dare we think that we could go down to 102 or maybe even to parity? Stranger things have happened. And don't forget that dollar is really showing that it's very, very weak at the moment. It'll be very, very interesting to see what happens on dollar CAD. And of course, dollar yen, people are talking about that across the board. Very, very quickly, euro yen for Sino on the 30-minute chart. And I think somebody asked about another Aussie CAD. I'll have a look at that as well. Okay, the 30-minute chart, what am I seeing? I'm seeing a pullback from the highs. I'm seeing potential for the daily pivot to be retested again. Do I see a trade at the moment? No, not from my point of view. Do I want to trade it short? Do I want to trade it at all? Haven't quite reached, or have we? We're bang on that level, aren't we? So I can totally get with the bias and a potential short, but it's got to set up properly. Because we're trending so strongly to the upside, I've got to see a couple of things. I've got to see a reversal pattern, number one. And I certainly don't see that on any chart that I'm looking at currently. Was it M30 you're looking at for short towards the daily pivot? I like your idea, but I've got to see a couple of things happen. And the first of those things is a potential reversal pattern. That's not a bearish engulfing bar. It's not really an evening star. So it's none of the above yet. What it could potentially become is a head and shoulders at some stage. So if we dip down to here, maybe to the top side of DR1 and that former level, then pop back up, then you might look for a short in this vicinity. Again, that would give you the lower high scenario. So that would kind of be my idea. I think it's a bit early to be going short right now, to scalp maybe, but you've missed the entry. So yeah, I'd look for that down to here, back up here, and something in that vicinity to get to the short. I agree with your analysis, but I can't trade that right now. It's just a little bit too premature, I think. The other one was Aussie CAD, I think. Aussie CAD. Okay, so Aussie CAD on the weekly chart's telling me what I need to know here. And what I need to know is, are we or have we traveled high enough for this to reverse or even to retrace? Because it's been super, super strong, as you can see all the way through here. Lots and lots of white candles, very few black ones. And that's a weekly chart I'm talking about, right? So it's super strong, has come off something of a level last week, but I don't see that level on the weekly chart, really. Let me have a good look at it. Yeah, it hasn't quite got there. I think that level's about here somewhere. And I'm going through this high, through this little bit of consolidation, these rejections here. So I reckon the level's probably closer to 96 than it is to 95. And we're at 95, of course, the whole number. So I still think there's probably a little bit left in this. That's a weekly chart I'm looking at, of course, and it doesn't mean we can't retrace. So, yeah, I'd find it very, very difficult to short this at the moment on any time frame. There's a massive bearish engulfing bar there. I can see that. That adds a little bit of flavor to it. I think I'd have to get below the pivots before I considered it on the smaller time frames. Yeah, we're kind of stuck in this area, aren't we? Yeah, I totally see that big bearish engulfing scenario. So maybe that reversal is there already, but I can't trade short here at the moment. There's no way. Maybe you could consider a break and retest of the daily pivot as a double cross, where you're going to put your stop. If you were to enter on that bar there short, your stop would be very risky in this area. You probably have to sneak it above there. Risk to reward on that. Let's say you enter there and your risk is about 32 pips. To DS1, you've got better than half of that. That's pretty cool. You've got 1-to-1 down to these lows. Yeah, it's kind of there. But again, I don't see an entry yet. If you want to look for an entry from my perspective, then wait for this to happen. Let this break, fail to take out the high, get back underneath here, preferably underneath both the pivots, then retest it at that area, retest the confluence area. Then I think the short is on. And you may even be able to get your stops a little bit tighter, depends on where this swing or this lower high comes into play. You may be able to get something in there with a tighter stop loss, maybe above the weekly pivot there. So yeah, I think it's on, but patience is required. As always, I like to see a resistance false break to go short. That's the best place to go short from my point of view. So that's kind of all my analysis at the moment. I'll go back to Orlando in just a tick. Aussie dollar for Helen. Okay. Let me get rid of my pen. Aussie dollar is down here somewhere. There it is. Okay. Now back inside the range, and again going along with the theme of a rally on the US dollar. We can envisage that we may get down to the bottom of this range, but boy, what a mess we've got here on the 4-hour chart. That's just garbage. I've got to see a move away from there. And maybe it looks like this, exactly the same as I've just described on what was I on, Euro Yen. So breakout here, back underneath, retest the backside of the resistance trade line and the confluence area, weekly pivot, daily pivot. So there's a potential entry there, I believe. You'd need to be careful because of the low of the day. That's one thing I don't do. Is that today's bar? Yes, it is. So the low of the day is here. at DS1. And you guys who have been in the show for a while will know that I don't like to be trading into those levels without taking profit. So if you got the scenario that I've described, so basically up here, don't take out that high, probably don't take out that high, but that one's not too bad. Come back underneath like so and retest. You've got the daily pivot here, the weekly pivot here. So you've got those out of the road. You could have a lower high here, and that would be either your entry there or your entry there if you want to take a little bit more risk on board. But you've got to take profit here because it is the low of the day. It's the low of the week at the moment also because it's Monday, but I wouldn't take too much into that. It's also DS1. So just be aware of that area. But that would definitely be my bias for the day, and I'll be looking to pick that up if it can wait for the US session. H4 entry. Okay, let me have a look at that. You got your coffee yet, Orlando?
Yeah, I did.
Good boy.
Thank you, Jeff.
I thought you might have. So that is the H4, and that's what I'd like to see. What are you looking at? I see maybe what you're looking at as something through there, maybe. I don't see a false break. Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from, but I don't want to get in at this level. I want to get in up here somewhere, off the pivot, so underneath and bounce off the pivots, then short. I think that would be the way to go for me. Lewis, you would talk, yeah, H4, right? That we've just covered. I think we're done. Brian, you were asking about Aussie CAD. We did that one. Christopher, S&P, we'll go back to Orlando after that. Okay. So I don't see an entry at the moment, guys, but if I find one in the next 5 or 10 minutes, I will certainly call you back. Righto, Orlando, have you got all those questions, or do you want me to go through them again?
Yeah, sure. Let me just share my screen.
Sure.
All right. Let me see, what screen do I share this one? All right, so someone, Helen asked me about platinum and natural gas. I'm sorry, I cannot tell you anything about those markets. I know nothing about natural gas whatsoever. And I'm not going to be, I mean, I can't analyze a market that I don't know how fundamentally works. So I have no opinion on that, and neither do I have an opinion in platinum.
That's two of us.
That's two of us. Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it makes no sense to analyze a chart if I don't know what fundamentally moves that market, right? Equities, a little bit of blood being shed on equities across the board. Negative on the FTSE, negative on the DAX, negative on the Dow, negative on the S&P 500, and well, I don't even look at the Nasdaq myself because it makes no sense to me with all the tech companies being overvaluated like they do. But still, below the daily open, every single one of those equity markets. The S&P 500, I think that we talked about it last week. And it's quite interesting, guys, right? It's quite interesting in the sense that, well, let me just get rid of this. I'll show you later why I have them there. It's quite interesting because this is Friday's price action, right? This is Thursday's price action. Actually, why don't we look at it on the futures chart, right? So this is Friday's price action, Thursday, yeah, Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. All right. So let's look at the volume profile, or yeah, I mean the daily or the session volume profile, right? You can see that we are still inside of a big range, right? Having said that, let's go back to the longer time frame chart. Having said that, we are at the top of, well, not at the top of a move, and no one can know if we are at the top of a move or not, right? But what we are is testing a big level of resistance. Not only, and you can see that this line is green and blue. My blue lines are just immediate levels in charts, right? Or in the market. Um, and my green light lines, my green lines are levels, or really important historic levels. I'll show you in a bit, right? So here we have quite an inflection point in the market after this big rally to the upside. And we're talking about how much? Let's see. We're talking about a 16% rally. Here is where short-term bulls took profits and sellers jumped in, right? And we dipped about 9% to a previous key level right here. Now, this is where buyers again picked up, but you can see that we are being capped by that same level again over and over and over. And well, if it only was a previous high, I wouldn't take so much importance into it. But if we go to the daily chart, you're going to see that this is in fact quite significant in the sense that let's look at the chart before the coronavirus pandemic crash, right? Before this point in historic price action. So I'm going to just delete this. Not delete it, but I'm going to hide it. Everybody was happy, equities just, you just needed to buy that dip in equities and you will be making money. But the thing is that this is a deep, by the deep level in historic price action. So here is where big bulls really jumped in and took the S&P 500 to all-time highs. Now, if we look at the historic price action or the complete historic price action after the coronavirus pandemic, the equities market crashed, then the Federal Reserve, in this case, the Federal Reserve picked up the bodies and started printing money to support this rally. Right now, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet has stabilized, even though it's above $7 trillion. Their repo operations are zero now, and they are slowing down their swap lines. And that means that the Federal Reserve's balance sheet curve is something like this, and we are right here. Maybe they've done this because they don't want to see gold making all-time highs, or we don't know the actual reason, but the liquidity that was supporting this market over and over for this recovery rally is not there anymore. So fundamentally speaking, this is one of the reasons that I'm looking at least at a short-term move to the downside. But technically speaking, this is quite the zone, right? So the probability of sellers jumping in right here and bring price down is higher than a continuation. Remember, these are just probabilities. There are no certainties in this game. And again, we have to move to the lower time frames to actually see what's going on. Right now, we are in the middle of nowhere in the sense that we are in a very rangy market, and we have been for the last week or so. Here we have inside this range for trading days. Now, if we manage to break with these lows right here, with force. Of course, well, if we manage to break with this low, we will be breaking with this range. I would see the S&P going lower, right? But there is this level of support right here that I do not love being there, but if we manage to break to the downs, if we manage to break with these lows and with the ascending immediate structure, that it looks very promising in the sense that I can see the move to the upside slowing down, right? And it's slowing down on slow volume. Just have a look at this.
Of course, the guys are chatting in the chat on YouTube that this
Okay,
is,
see,
of course,
I'm here.
Oh, you can see it, right? Okay.
Yeah, I also looking at third week of every month we are long, right? Well, I don't trade like that. I'm sorry, I don't trade like that. That is not for me. Yeah, supposedly bullish, maybe. I got position, hope in bullish soon, some resistance levels above that. I wouldn't be caught dead long, going long in the S&P 500 right now. You know, I would take that much as a gambling position, in the sense that, I mean, this is just a super strong area of resistance. You know, and we are trapped inside of a range, and you know, there's absolutely no edge in going long or short inside of this, right?
You know the
Because of
reason
the
that they do that, though, don't you?
yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But that's just not the way that I trade, right?
No, I'm the same, mate. I trade an
Uh-huh.
analysis. Yeah.
Yeah, if we manage to break with these highs, right? I mean, if we manage not to break with these highs, but these highs right here, I could see the S&P 500, of course, going higher. But I think that have you seen the economic calendar?
Today? Yep.
No, for the week. I think I saw it for the weekend. There's not a lot of economic data, right?
No, it's
This
pretty ordinary.
yeah. So I don't see any fundamental or any data dump, you know, bringing up. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing on the US dollar. Only, you know, the weekly unemployment claims. But I don't see any economic data, you know, bringing up buyers at these levels. What I do see is, if we break with these lows, if we break with, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what I did. If we break with these lows, I see the S&P 500 going lower. Again, yeah, we are in a very bullish move, very strong recovery. And when I say that the liquidity is not there, so I see the S&P 500 going lower, I'm not talking about revisiting the pandemic lows, right? I'm talking about revisiting these levels, the 360, the 370 level, or maybe even the 3000 level, right? The 3000 level, which would be the 50% retracement of the last impulse up, right? An area where we could see big bulls jumping on the market, like we did right here. So that's the only reason I'm looking at an immediate short in equities, you know. And if you look over the board, I just look at the FTSE. You know, I wish Ash would be here to speak about the FTSE. But it's also very capped to the upside. Okay, and the DAX also very capped to the upside, and by a big level on the daily. Have a look. Big level on the daily on the DAX. So this is an even bigger level than the one on the S&P 500 that had been retested once. And just look at how what happened to the DAX when bulls retested this level. I mean, it after a big move to the upside of about 61%, guys. But I mean, let's take just the last impulse. Okay, just the last impulse from this low, because I mean, after this low, I can see that this is the last impulse to these highs. 27% move to the upside, and then we had a 10% move to the downside. Okay, and what happened to my lines? I don't know. Here we go. And then now we are retesting those same levels. Okay, of course, that there is no certainty that we are going to repeat historic price action, but I do believe that the probabilities of another leg down before a real break are higher than just a simple break to the upside right here. Those are my views in equities, okay? And let me see if we have any questions. Jeff, what is the reason for for third Monday S&P. Julian has mentioned it.
Okay, now Julian has these seasonal trades all the time,
Yep.
and he's a student, right? He's a total student of seasonals, and he'll tell you that there are many trades throughout the year that have incredible win-loss ratios, and this is one of them. S&P, I think, over the last, and I don't know, but I hear the guys quote the numbers every now and then. I think over the last, 23, 24 third Mondays of the month, it's hit the mark something like 19, 20 times out of that. So it's missed only 2 or 3 times in the
Yeah.
last 23 occasions. And that's why they trade it, because the win-loss percentage is amazing. So that's why it's traded. It's a seasonal trade.
Yep.
But
All right.
there is a caveat to that. If it does coincide with a seasonal bullishness on the S&P, then I think it's far more valid than it would be otherwise. And I've got no idea what the seasonals are on the S&P right now. Wouldn't have a clue because I don't follow them.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know. We could look at the cut report, but that would take too much time.
Yeah, I'll be ready for the US session by the
Yeah, exactly. We do have a question about the Swiss franc versus the Japanese yen. That's a market that I don't trade. Do you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. Are you done, mate?
Yeah, I'm done.
You've got all your questions answered. I don't think you did answer your chat group, mate. How
Yeah,
do we
for the chat group, you can contact James or support or whatever in the whoever in the team you have contact with, and they'll give you all the answers.
There you go. As always, we guys don't have anything to do with the business side of things as such. We just talk and tell you what we think at the end of the day. So how that all works is, completely beyond me as well. Okay, so mate, if you're done, I will take the screen and I'll talk about Swiss yen and then pretty much wrap it up. We have been triggered long on the pound, by the way.
You have been triggered long on the pound? Yep.
Yep.
I can see it right here. That's a great. I mean, I do see that trade going at least to the 126.70 level. So cheers, man.
The thing is with the pound at the moment, it's like a yo-yo, man.
It is. It's trapped inside of that range, but if you look at it, I mean, it's a pretty strong move to the upside from these lows right here, from the 127. I'm sorry, 123. That 123 retest was pretty strong move to the upside, and I mean, in this level, just like in the pound versus the yen, this level is where I mean, it's being supported heavily by bulls. So I do just because we're trading above this level and are on an immediate bullish structure, I do favor the upside of that. So cheers.
Yep, cool. Happy days. All right. So guys, I'll briefly go through Swiss yen, and I think I've shared my screen, have I?
All right. So I'm gonna head out, Jeff. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Right now, it's 2 a.m. where I live.
You've got
Louis,
just enough time to go for sleep, have you?
Yeah.
Mate,
And
thanks
about
for checking in.
yeah, and just a last question, my chat group again, just contact your contact within Access to Wealth, and they will guide you to it. Thank you for having me, Jeff. And I mean, I'll hit you up if you have. Well, I'll be on for your show in the US session. All right.
On Thursday, yeah.
Yep, on Thursday. That's exactly it. Okay, cool, mate. Thank you.
Much appreciated, mate. Have a good week.
All right, cheers. You too. Bye.
Okay, there goes the big O. Thank him very much indeed for staying up at this time of day and having a little chat to us. I'm looking at Swiss yen chart at the moment, and yeah, look, it looks very toppy, I've got to say. The daily chart is telling me that it's come off its highs already, but is that interesting enough to trade? Well, it might be. I can see a potential for that to become a false break of resistance. What I'd like to see is price get underneath the pivots and then retest the confluence area before I were to go short. Do I see the potential for the long to continue? Yes, I do, but do I want to go long here? No. No, this is a very strong level, as you can readily see. Wonder if it's got any history beyond there. Yeah, it does. I couldn't go long here. Not for love nor money. Well, maybe for love, not for money. Just kidding. Yeah, that's pretty much the only thing I see at the moment. Let that come under here and retest the confluence area, and you'll be trading a false break of that resistance trade line, which of course is also a strong horizontal resistance level. That's the hourly chart. So that could happen in the next, hour and 45 minutes. You'd need to have a close around about where we are now, and then a retest of the trade line. Then you could trade it down to the pivot, take some profit, and hope it continues. But then look to the 4-hour chart. If it went back and took you out, then you could have a look on the 4-hour chart for the later opportunity. As I said before, under the pivots, retest the confluence, and away you go on the 4-hour chart. But you may be able to get into it earlier on the hourly, but make sure you've got profit in the bank before those pivots. You might even be able to trade it as a double cross of the pivots. That may be an opportunity. So that's Swissy Yen on your welcome. Everybody's welcome. I think we're done, guys. All right, let's have a look and see at the 30-minute charts and see what we can see. Why I'm on euros? Yeah, no, I don't want to be. As I said, there's only really 4 that I'm looking at the moment. That will change, of course, as the day and week goes on. Euro's one of them. And again, I'm looking for that to retrace. And again, I don't see an opportunity at the moment, but that may well come as a false break of that trade line. So underneath here, retest, then go, take some profit at the daily pivot. Cable. Well, if it were to get a strong close underneath the weekly pivot now, we also have a double cross scenario on pound US dollar. Is it due to break? Yes, it is. Will it? No, don't know. But these candles do look very strong. It looks like there are buyers about, but are they at this level? And that's the question, of course. Are they still keen on driving this higher? Look, I hope that's the case. It has got a bit of work to do. We've got to get through this area. And I see no reason why not. Once we clear there, then there's a bit of fresh air up to these levels. As Orlando says, we've got a few targets up here as well, around the 125, 126.50 mark, in that vicinity. So maybe today's the day that we get a nice run on the pound. It would be overdue because, as I said before, this is like up and down in a day. It just keeps going like a bungee cord. At sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy. What's next? Hopefully buys as we get into that trade. S&P on the 4-hour looking okay, maybe for a 1-to-1 on the new candle. Yeah, look, again, Dennis, same thing. I don't trade the S&P, so it would be really not the right thing for me to do, to tell you what my analysis is on the S&P. The one thing I would say is that I can't believe it's up at those highs. That's the one thing I would say, given that we are in a world pandemic. And I know the answer to that question is, well, where else are you going to put your money? And I can't answer that either. I really can't. That's in the too hard basket. No raises today, Dennis. Oh, how can that be? That's not even possible these days, is it? I thought they raced every minute of the day. Good God, I would have gone broke many, many moons ago if that were the case when I was punting on slow horses, I can tell you. Pound Kiwi. let's have a look at pound Kiwi. As you know, I'm super keen to get into this long, and I'm not yet, but I do want to see this pullback, and hopefully that will be the case. And dollar CAD, finally, it's doing nothing, but that does that quite often. So no, I don't see any opportunities there on that at the moment. I will have a look at a few more in the US session. We will be joined by Ainsley in the US session. Those of you who, didn't see that before. It won't happen on the hourly. It might. Sorry, I'm thinking under my breath here. No, it's not really there. I thought we might have a false break here already, but I don't have a trade line, so I don't see it. Yes, the Golden Lady will be in trying slingshot on Trade Manager sometimes. Yeah, I'd like to have a talk to you about that, Helen, at some stage. I'm not sure where we can do that. There's a few things that I'd like you to be aware of before that. Yeah, gold and oil tonight, Shukri. And then, of course, you can limber up for tomorrow night in the US session and tell us all about cryptos. That'd be good. Right, guys, I'm going to wrap this session up at the moment. As you know, we have a few things to look at, but at the moment, I also don't see any trades available. Maybe the pound is the one today. If we get that double cross, then maybe that's a good place to enter. Right, guys, be good and trade well. We'll look forward to your company tomorrow when we'll be joined by Tuesday morning is Chloe. We'll be talking to Chloe in this session tomorrow and seeing what trends that she's got for us to trade. You're welcome, everybody. And Christopher, break will be danger, I suppose. Break will be danger. Break of this. I think that'll be okay. If this comes back here, then I think there's a good entry above it. We shall see. We're already in that trade anyway as a breakout, but that's only on test. Thank you, guys. I've got to go. As I said, be good and trade well, and we'll catch you tomorrow at the very same time. Those of you in the US session, we will catch you around about 5 to 9 Hong Kong and Singapore time. See you later, guys. Bye-bye for now.